There's an explanation for flaming that's been going around recently that people are just really passionate and want to win a lot. And it's because they want to win so much that they're toxic. And beyond the earth, they're like, yeah, it's just human nature. You really want to win, but your idiot top laner feeds so much you lose. Like, of course you flame him. And if you don't think about it too much, it seems like they're right because there are a lot of examples of really toxic but also really good people. So, if you just look at someone like Tarzan, you might assume, yeah, he's just really competitive. He's toxic because he really wants to win. But obviously, I disagree with this. I think it's ridiculous when you're actually thinking about it because, like, imagine the root cause behind all your actions is wanting to win. Well, obviously, flaming doesn't increase your chances of winning. All it does is tilt your teammates and make them play worse. I don't think you can really argue that flaming your team actually helps your chances of winning. And you might say, okay, well, but they just flame in games that are completely over. But that just isn't true. Like, for example, I've been inted straight from Champ Select. So, obviously, in that case, the motivation isn't wanting to win because it only hurts your chance to win. But I'm not denying that there's a correlation between wanting to win and being toxic. It's just the causal explanation that I don't agree with. And so the question is, if it's not a direct causation, then what explains the correlation? And I think the answer, the root cause behind people who really want to win flaming, is just wanting to feel good about themselves. And I mean, it makes sense. One way to feel good is by winning the game. So if you want to feel good, you can just win. It's like, yeah, I played great and we won. Woohoo. But, sometimes you lose. And in those losses, a lot of what happens is actually your team's fault. And if you lose, the worse your team played, the better you could have played and still lost, if that makes sense. So by putting your teammates down, you're pushing yourself up at the same time. Right? Like, oh, defeating Yasuo made this game unwinnable, but I played well and I can still feel good about how I played. And I mean, that's what flaming boils down to if you think about it. It's an assertion that other people played bad. And you aren't just asserting it to other people. I'd actually argue that the only person you're really asserting it to is yourself. Like that by flaming someone, you convince yourself how terrible they played. And by doing so, it makes it so that when you lost with them on your team, well, you can still feel good about how you played. So again, the root cause isn't wanting to win, it's wanting to feel good about yourself. And that's what makes you want to win, or if you can't win, it's what makes you flame teammates so that you can still feel good about yourself. And this is important because when the root cause of flaming is wanting to win, you see people saying, oh, it's unfortunate that this guy is toxic, but it's just because he's passionate and competitive. And those aren't necessarily bad things, so while being toxic isn't justified, it's coming from a good place. Whereas I think if the cause was a need to feel good about yourself, flaming would be recognized as coming from insecurity. Although actually, maybe insecurity is an overly harsh word. Maybe it would be better to just say very self-aware. Because self-awareness isn't even necessarily a bad thing. Like, you need to be aware of your own mistakes to get better at League, for example. So I don't think I'm even attacking toxic people here. I'm just trying to dispel the myth that the root cause is really wanting to win when actually it's just wanting to feel good.